Judy, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping you're enjoying your lovely breakfast. And thank you so much to the Casper United Women in Faith for doing that for us at this June 22 annual conference meeting. So also, I'd just like to welcome you on behalf of the Wyoming +1 district to our state, and hope you're enjoying yourselves and getting lots of business done. So we will talk to you later, and thank you, Robin, for sharing with us today. So glad to see you, and I know you're getting ready to retire, so enjoy your retirement too. So thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Coming out such a bright early morning, but didn't have sun. At least the rain left. We didn't have to deal with it this morning. We have the privilege of having our deaconesses with us today. So I'm going to turn it over to them. I'm not going to introduce everybody because I'm not going to want to go up.
Can't you get there? Robin Reed is the over here. You're gonna have to do a labyrinth before you
like this. I guess I have to look forward to.
No, just look at us. Look at us. Look at us.
Oh, you're down here too. Okay. Okay, great to see you. Thank you for inviting me to be here this morning, and all my my compatriots back there, who you will get to meet today. Judy, good to see you. Thank you for having me this morning. And I'm glad to see you on the screen because I was looking for you in the crowd and didn't see you. Now I know why.
Yeah, it just made it a little hard to get there this time, so.
And I'm not retired. Karen's retiring. I'm looking forward to being in one place and being able to do more work. What I'd like to start with this morning is, and my name is Deaconess Robin Ridenauer, for those of you who don't know me. And I'd like to start with just a centering song, Spirit of the Living Lord, Spirit of the Living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, you see, Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. First, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of you for, I wasn't going to cry, for supporting me, for inviting me to speak, for just being the amazing, truly, truly amazing women that you are. I love what I love about United Methodist Women is that you continue to learn, to educate others, and take action. And you're amazing. So my part of my story is that when somebody told me about becoming a deaconess, and after about 7 years, I filled out the application. And then to become a deaconess, you have to take 5 seminary classes. They bring us together. They get a professor and they bring us together so that we can form community and get to know each other. So I'm at my first class, and Ruth Jean-Pierre was one of my roommates, and she said that she was leaving to go teach Mission U. And I said, well, what's Mission U? And she said, no, you're kidding. I said, no, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. What's Mission U? And she thought it was a joke. And it's like, and part of the thing is, I have never been part of a Methodist church that had a United Women in Faith group. So I've been a member of about 6 churches, and none of them have had a United Women in Faith. So finally, I got through to Ruth that I did not know what Mission U was. And she told me, and I thought, oh my God, there's something like that out there? Really, this happens? And what I realized was that because I attended all these churches that didn't have a United Women in Faith, I missed out. So I joined the Methodist Church after college because when I was in nursing school, we had to study a census tract. We studied the one across the street from the college where thousands of Southeast Asians had moved in. So we studied their culture and their migration and presented to the class. And then we had to do something for the community, kind of like what you all do. And we decided to have a health fair, and we held it at the Methodist church that was in the center of the census tract. Well, the Methodist church they had a huge property. They turned half their property into a playground. They had ESL classes, they had Head Start classes, they had Stone Soup, they had, I think Stone Soup was to get people in touch with medical care and services. And I was just so impressed by what this church did for the community that I thought someday I'm going to go to that church. And someday I did. It was for, my first woman pastor. It was like the second reconciling church, which I didn't even know what that was at the time. And my pastor was so Wesleyan that she stuck me in a Bible study. And those 30 people became my best friends for the next almost 10 years. So, but we didn't have you. We had women, but we didn't have a United Women in Faith. And had somebody asked me to come to a group like yours, I would have been there in a heartbeat. And so part of it is like, I know our churches are shrinking and some churches are aging. And all I'm going to say is that if you just ask, if you get people in your church and they're coming, and young people and young women, if you just ask them, they want to be mentored. They want to be involved. And a little caveat is if you could make it for a time that they could come, that would be good too. This is just a little bit of housekeeping. In 2016, the Deaconess and Home Missioners became an order. So now we are an independent order of Deaconess and Home Missioners, same as Order of Elders or Order of Deacons. But we have a very close relationship with United Women in Faith. And right now, how that is explained, I actually wrote to our executive director because I wasn't sure. I'm like, so what is our relationship with United Women in Faith? Because it's always been close. And it was now United Women in Faith administer the Deaconess and Home Missioner Order. I don't really know what that means, but we still are very connected. And I'm so grateful. I would not be a deaconess without you. You paid for my 5 seminary classes. And I appreciate that so much. And I am giving back so that others can continue to do that. I don't want to leave here without you knowing all of the deaconesses who are here. So I'm gonna, in a minute, I'm gonna invite them up to tell you who they are. And I've asked them to either tell them why they became a deaconess, why they are becoming a deaconess, or one thing that they think that you don't know about deaconesses. So we do have one home missioner. He's totally awesome. He goes to my church. I attend Park Hill in Denver, and his name is don't want to get his. I know I don't want to get his name wrong. Yeah, Steve Holtz Russell. So I'm going to introduce him to you. Steve is a home missioner consecrated in 2022. He and his family are, and these are his words. He is a longtime member of Park Hill, where he coordinates mission and social justice work. In his professional capacity, he is a software product coordinator for the National Conference of State Legislatures, which is a nonpartisan, nonprofit membership association that provides policy research and governance support to legislators all over the country. At Park Hill, Steve works on immigration and housing issues. He lives in Denver with his amazing wife, who is a teacher, and his amazing 11-year-old child who loves to act and play the trombone. Our other person who is not here is Laura Young. Laura is a member, and this is Laura's words that she sent. Laura is a member of the Texas Annual Conference, and her husband is on, well, they're pretty progressive, and they were having a heck of a time in Texas. And Karen kept inviting them to come to our conference, and Kevin Young is serving Montrose United Methodist Church in Montrose. He's doing an amazing job. And Laura, let me read her bio. Laura is a deaconess appointed to Reconciling Ministries Network as an organizer. She's an advocate for biblical scholarship and theological education for laity, and is deeply committed to LGBTQ affirmation in the United Methodist Church. When asked why she's called to reconciling work, which is I think also why she's called to be a deaconess, is because the church I love is hurting people I love. And Laura is totally amazing. She's not here because she's actually doing her RMN work, and she's watching the annual conferences of the South that that her work is with. So we have two new deaconesses. So all we have here are deaconesses. We have two new deaconesses, and they were consecrated at General Conference. If anybody saw that, it was wonderful. And tomorrow they will be commissioned during the ordination service. And I didn't hear that you were appointed yesterday. Do you not get appointed until you're commissioned? Okay. So they are going to be commissioned, and then right after their commissioning, they will be appointed. So I would like to ask, how about Stacy Atkins, because you all saw Stacy yesterday morning do an amazing job with Abundant Health. It's a really fun labyrinth.
Good morning. It's nice to see everybody. Thank you for inviting us and having us with you. We love United Women in Faith. They're our backbone. So we really appreciate your support, your encouragement, and we're happy to be part of the group. And I would say for me, for being a deaconess, my reason, the connection. I get to work with just amazing people And as I work, I do spiritual direction, so it's kind of on my own. So it's wonderful to have a group of deaconesses supporting me in my practice. I really appreciate it, and that's why, and thanks to Robin, I'm here. Thank you very much.
And Kathy Loomis.
Stacy, where are you? Oh, for March, April, May, June, for 3 months, she was our first deaconess in Wyoming.
So, but my husband is clergy and he has been moved to Aspen. I'm sorry, somebody has to go there. So of course, I'll be on the street begging for food, but so that's where I'm going to be. And I'll be appointed to my own spiritual direction practice. I have my own 501c3, and I'll be appointed through that.
Very cool.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'll start off the way I usually do. My name's Kathy Loomis, and I'm an alcoholic. I got sober December 13th of 2006. So one thing with being a deaconess or home missioner is it is a calling. It's something that you discern. You know, it's not something that you just wake up and do one day. It truly is a calling. And I talked to my pastor a lot and tried to have him convince me that I wasn't being called. And when he couldn't convince me of that, I followed my calling and looked into being a deaconess. And my work is with recovery. Besides all the other AA work and stuff that I do, what I have started at our church is a small group, and we're going through the 12 steps using the AA Alcoholics Anonymous book and using the Bible and John Wesley's teachings, and to see how closely integrated they are. Because in Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a spiritual program, even though we talk about God. So I wanted to be able to have a group that really brought in the love of God in everything, that we could freely talk about it and our relationship with God and our sobriety and how it's all wrapped in together. So I hope to someday make like a leader's guide and all, and possibly make this a group that could be rolled out to all churches, because I found that most Methodist churches, even though we know about addiction, we're not really doing much about it. When I've talked to pastors, you know, they might be like, oh yeah, we have an AA group that meets in our basement twice a week, you know. Well, that is not a Methodist group that is out there helping people in recovery. So that's one of the things that I'm hoping to do, and I'm really glad to be here, and I'm thrilled to be commissioned tomorrow. Oh, I am in Denver, Colorado, and I am with Belong Church.
And I'd like to invite up Deaconess Molly King.
Good morning.
Good
I am
morning.
Molly. My pronouns are she, her, and I am 28. So with that being said, one thing I want you to know is that deaconesses aren't for old people. But one of the reasons I became a deaconess, I was raised all around you wonderful UMW United Women in Faith women, and you guys built me up as a leader. When I try to stick under the pews and do my little dances, you guys put me in the front. And when I didn't want to speak, you would give me a script. And so thanks to Robin and her wonderful push to really get into the Deaconess program, because I had an interest and she heard about my interest. And so she just kind of umped it up and was like, here, I hope your application's done. And I was like, oh, yeah. And you don't lie to the bishop's wife. Get my application in. Thank you. And so I just want to say the reason why I'm here is because I want to be where the pastors aren't, which basically means I want to be, they are busy taking care of their congregations. They do a wonderful job, but there are people who sit on the outside, who sit on like at the gas station, and they just need someone to talk to. And so my goal is my church, the world is my church, and my pulpit is kind of wherever I'm sitting. So yeah, that's kind of where. Oh, I am the new resident deaconess for Flathead Lake United Methodist Camp. It is a wonderful opportunity. So it sounds kind of crazy, but they actually created this position. I have worked at Flathead Lake United Methodist Camp for 10 years. I have been the cook's assistant, program camp host. I have been all over. So so they gave me the title resident deaconess because I am the lifeguard. I am an archery coach this year. So, but with that being said, I would love to welcome you guys to Flathead Lake United Methodist Camp. And on behalf of saying thank you, I would like to host you without charge. And so you guys will have to check our calendars because it's all a little bit funky. But I would love for you guys to come stay at Flathead Lake United Methodist Camp to say thank you for how much you guys have contributed. You guys paid for not just my classes, but you guys paid for my living expenses to go to classes. You guys paid for my rent. You guys paid for groceries. And I could have not been here without you guys. So thank you.
I'd like to call up Deaconess Lori Fujinami.
All you guys up.
Good morning. Let's see, what do you want to hear? My call story? You want to hear some things I think maybe you don't know about deaconesses? What might be your interest? What we don't know about deaconesses? Okay, let me think of a few. So one that I was telling Beth on our way up is that deaconesses do continuing education. So every year we have to do, I think, 18 credits of continuing education. And through Mission U, you provide a lot of that. And I appreciate that. That helps me get to where I need to be each year. And I have to say, I do love going to Mission U and love everything that you teach us there. Some of the other things that you may not know about deaconesses and home missioners is that there's a difference between us and deacons. We are not just female deacons as deaconesses. Deacons are considered clergy, and deaconesses and home missioners are considered laity. We are a laity order, and we do different things. Both of our callings can be in the world, but deaconesses and home missioners are professionals. We have our vocation, and that's usually where our calling ends up, is whatever our professional vocation is. I work at the Rocky Mountain Network, VA. So the Rocky Mountain Network is similar actually to the Mountain Sky Conference. We cover a lot of the same territories. I used to be directly in the facility as a program analyst, working in the mental health service as basically I was providing data and information to leadership on the people that we were serving and how those services were being done, things like that. Now, instead of pulling data and getting it to those leaders, I am at the network level and putting that data in, putting that data together, getting it out there so that the people at the facilities can use it, so that the leadership there can use it. And it's also our accountability system to Congress on how we spend the money, what's being done at the VA.
What VA, excuse me, what VA center are you at?
So I'm at the Rocky Mountain Network, which is across all of basically this area. It's Montana, it's Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, a little Oklahoma. There's a little bit of Kansas on the western side. I think that covers it. So it's a lot of the same area actually that Mountain Sky covers, with the addition of Oklahoma. So
office out of your home?
I do. I now work 100% remote. And used to, I was part-time, and I have now gone full-time. Trying to think, is there anything else that you'd like to know about deaconesses or about my work, or I should say deaconesses and home missioners?
So is home missioners the male part of it, so that they
Exactly.
doesn't get confused with the deacon?
We could choose.
Okay.
Some women have chosen homes. We need a gender neutral name.
I did not know that.
But that's the only difference, is what they're called.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
usually keep that public for online because.
Yes. So what Catherine was asking was that home missioners and deaconesses are the same thing. They're just different titles based on gender. But Robin was telling us that some deaconess or some women have chosen to be called home missioners rather than deaconesses.
Right, how do you feel you utilize your deaconess in your what you're doing in your job?
You know, a lot of it is because in my job, I'm serving hundreds of thousands of veterans every day in a system that has always struggled with bureaucracy, and it seems like we're always in the news. There are many good people who work at the VA. Most people who work at the VA are good people serving veterans. The second way that I think I serve, and I've always felt that my job, I've been doing my job for over 20 years and became a deaconess in 2018. So I've always felt like my job was a ministry. And a lot of times that ministry was to my coworkers. It's not always an easy job working in the VA. And especially when I was working with the mental health system, I found that a lot of the psychiatrists or psychologists or social workers were coming to me, and I was almost their administrative counselor. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic, but a lot of it I have felt has been supporting and working with my coworkers has been a big part of my ministry. Me and my family have been attending at Broomfield UMC in Colorado. Thank you.
Thank you.
and Deaconess Kimberly Peters.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Deaconess Kimberly Peters. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I serve as the interim children's pastor at Belong Church in Denver. My husband is the lead pastor there. I became a deaconess because I didn't know what to do. I felt this like calling to do more, but I didn't really understand what that meant. I knew I did not want to be clergy because I met my husband like 6 weeks into his seminary career. And so I basically went through seminary with him and I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. So I knew that wasn't my path, but I didn't know what else there was. And somehow Robin heard this and she's like, I know what there is. And so kind of like Molly, she kind of urged me and pushed me and it didn't take much, but she's like, there's this discernment retreat in Tucson. You should really go. Like, I like Tucson. I could do that. And it was not in July, so that was even better. And I went and I'm like 10 minutes into the meeting and I'm like, I have found my people. This is amazing. And then from there, I went through all the classes and I was consecrated in 2022 because of the COVID delay. Should have been 20 and that just didn't happen. And yeah, I was going to say the thing you don't know is that we're laity. We're not, I get that a lot, that the confusion between deaconess and deacon. And no, I'm not clergy. I have no desire to be clergy. I love that there are people that do. That's just not me. And what else do you not know? So we go through classes and we have a very prescribed program and discernment track that we do. So yeah, it's not just something you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I'll just be a deaconess today. It takes a lot of prayerful consideration and a lot of hard work. But I think that helps prepare us to be our ministry in the world. At the time, I was a middle school teacher. And so that was my vocation and that was my appointment was to my school. And I've since left the classroom and I now work in HR. And I find that it is very similar and that my appointment is at my church, but my ministry is very much also in my work in HR, helping people resolve their differences, helping people understand their work and policies and benefits and things like that. Gives me a sense of sharing Christ's love. And when I hear things like, I used to hate calling HR because I never understood what they were talking about and you just make it so much easier. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's huge. So yeah, so that's my ministry. I have my church ministry and then I also have my work ministry. Yes.
So the 5 theology courses that you have to take, they're all prescribed and
Yes.
they're precise.
Yeah. So we have theology of mission, history of the United Methodist Church, New Testament, Old Testament, and Paladian doctrine. Yes.
Where do you get your training?
Through UMW or United Women in Faith now. Yeah. They have these set courses. So it's connected with, what's the university? Oh, okay. So, oh, interesting. Yeah, that's where mine was.
Yeah.
And Kansas. pardon, yeah. So the university that's connected to it has changed, but United Women in Faith connects the professors with the classes and organizes all of that. So we have 2 classes per semester, basically, that they offer, and they kind of rotate through. I physically went to half of mine and half were online. Kathy, I believe, was all online, right? Oh, no, you went to some in person? Oh, okay. So yeah, so it's a mix. Yeah. It was fun. You should
So
talk
you're
to us about it.
appointed by the bishop?
We are appointed by the bishop. So yesterday when she was reading appointments for the Denver area, she read my appointment to belong.
So if you become a deaconess or a home missionary, you also agree to be appointed.
Correct. But you choose your appointment. It's related to your vocation.
Okay.
So it's similar to deacons in that you find your own appointment, but it is still approved through the
Basically
bishop and United
ratified
Women.
and, you know,
Yeah. Yep.
stamp of approval.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me.
And lastly, you heard her speak yesterday, Deaconess Kim Lewis. And one thing you might not know also is that active deaconesses have voting rights at annual conference. I love that part.
Yeah, right.
Good morning. When Robin asked us to prepare and think about what don't people know about a deaconess or home missioner, the first thing that came to mind was my memory of when we were consecrated and I was with Kimberly, and I actually had to take all my classes online because it was during COVID. So it wasn't until we went to the United Women of Faith conference in Orlando that I actually got to meet all the humans that I had been in a covenant relationship with for about 2.5 years. Anyway, when our class was being consecrated, one of the women, and maybe some of you heard me say this last year, but it was meaningful, handed out mixing spoons, a wooden mixing spoon, and she had a tag on it, had a scripture, and it was from 2 Timothy 1:6. And it was referencing stirring up the gift of God, which is in you through the laying of my hands. And if you actually look back at the history of the deaconess program from many, many, many decades ago, do you know what deaconesses used to be called? Angelic troublemakers. And the combination of stirring the pot and being an angelic troublemaker, I think we all are. All of us that are in United Women of Faith probably feel like we're called some way, somehow in that regard. But that really hit home to me. And as the trailing spouse of a clergy that has traveled the Rocky Mountain region for quite some time, I always thought you had to have the word pastor in your title to be one that could make a difference or do something that had spirituality and religion associated with it. So I've always worked in the nonprofit sector with marginalized populations, but most of those roles that I've had have felt like a calling, but they've all been secular positions. And so when I learned about the deaconess program that merges or kind of marries your vocation with faith, I thought, this is for me. This is awesome. We did do all those classes that you've heard people talk about. But the other thing that you may not know, we're not just studying scripture and the foundational work of being a deaconess. We're really being challenged in some pretty significant social and societal issues, things that you hear about every night in the news, right? I mean, we try not to get politically engaged, but what do we do to be the voice of people that don't have one? What are we doing about racial issues, about hunger, about, the the pipeline that we talk about some particular demographics of children that are going right to prison. How can we help prevent that? And it's hard work. We just don't talk about it. We have to read about it. We have to get up and make presentations and figure out if we ruled the world, this is how we would change it. But that is probably the thing I've appreciated and enjoyed the most about being in the order of deaconess and home missioner, is that my brain is always full and my heart is always bursting with ideas and opportunities. And I'm really glad that my mind's been stretched. I've learned things that I never even thought were issues or opportunities to consider, and then to get to share it with my regular work colleagues and challenge them to think differently and approach the world differently. I currently live in Billings, Montana, and I run our local United Way. And I don't think I heard anyone else say, when we are consecrated, we're asked to make a 10-year commitment at a minimum to serve in this capacity. So some of us are in that first decade of service. Some of us have been in multiple decades of service. So it is definitely a lifetime commitment. Sure.
How do we support you? How do we support our deacons? How can we do?
Well, as you heard several of the ladies say, thank you for the donations that you make to either United Women of Faith or with the designation to the Deaconess Home Missioner Program, because we do foot the bill to go. Basically, we're a non-degreed theologian. So we've, the classes are expensive, and the travel and the different online courses that we need to take. So thank you for the financial support. But I think more than anything is prayer for each of us with what our call is, where we're trying to do our best to merge our vocation and faith together, and we can't do it alone. So when somebody asks you, hey, you want to learn about or know about, or how can we help you, come on the journey with us. It'll be fun. In the angelic troublemaker column of my career in United Women of Faith, we have, I think, 4 or 5 active circles at our church, and none of them fit my schedule. I'm sorry, but I can't meet at 1 o'clock on a Thursday or 8 a.m. on a whatever, because I work full time. And so what I found was we had a gap or an opportunity of working women to gather, and I had to kind of chum them in. And remember, I'm married to clergy, and it was anyway, so we meet in a bar and during happy hour. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. And it's actually, now we have about 25 women that can meet sometime in the 5 to 7 p.m. hour. And we don't always go drinking. Actually, we rotate between a bar and a coffee house. I have to call a lounge when I put it in the bulletin. Anyway, you know what's come out of it though? We have people who are not members of our church or members of United Women of Faith that just want to come and have that spirituality and that opportunity to hang. And they come and do our service projects with us. They do everything. They'll actually proudly tell you, I'm a member of First UNC's United Women of Faith Joy Circle, but I'm not a member of the church. They want to make that very clear, but they're very active. So it's been fun to try to find a different way to meet the needs of working women, because we're busy and we have kids and soccer and, you know, and a career. So that has worked well for our group.
Yeah. So how do you stay connected with other deaconesses now that you're all commissioned? You were connected when you were training. You've got a small group there.
There is an online Zoom every Monday night at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And we rotate themes and or leaders or whoever is going to be in charge of it. One of the administrators who works for United Women of Faith kind of is the glue that keeps us all together. so you can opt in when you can. And what's cool about that time, it was the only time that we could find that somebody from Africa could join us, and also somebody from Alaska and everywhere in between. It's really cool. Sometimes we see, those of us that are here in Mountain Sky see each other on the call. Sometimes we don't, because we can't always make it. So that's a way. They also do a weekly newsletter that there's all sorts of information. Also, what is it? What's this year's theme in the United Women of Faith book, The Bread We Break, or the program book? Did you know that deaconesses contribute to that? If you actually read through that, many of the prayers or many of the programs that are profiled in there are from deaconesses around the world. So you would probably be able to read, now that you know some of our names, see some of our work in there. So we stay connected through other things that United Women of Faith encourages us to participate in. Ooh, why are you looking at me like I'm an expert? I don't know. I think Robin's the expert. I can't remember. It is growing. 400-ish. Most of them, I'd say at least half that were international. There's more internationally than there are domestically, aren't there? Or do I have it backwards? Okay. Yeah. So we don't know. Do you know, Kathy? Oh. Oh, okay. I did just want to speak on the fact that when I went to class, there were actually 4 people from Africa that attended the classes online at Zoom. So it's like the middle of the night there, right? And some of the things they were doing, for instance, one of the gals at one point, she's like, oh, I've got to go offline for a minute. And she came back like 10 minutes later. And she's like, I'm sorry, they were bombing in the area. Yeah. So these are dedicated people, and they were women and no visitors. So it's just not a USA thing. We are everywhere.
I think we're having a wonderful conversation, but I think we're probably all watching.
Thank you. One other way we do stay connected is every 2 years, we have a weekend gathering somewhere in the United States. I just wanted to thank you again so much. I think every Christian is called to love, justice, and service work. And you all exemplify that. And I encourage you, and I love you, and I will miss all of you.
We'll miss you.
We're blessed to have these ladies amongst us. We're blessed to have these ladies amongst us and all they contribute, and they should know we're here. You know, got something going on. Check in with us, and how can we support you and help you?
Yes.
We've been blessed to have Robin with us, and so we have good for you. Thank you, ladies. Be safe getting across town and back to our event today.
I'd like to ask the over here, the food table, which is always the UWF meeting. So we'll be a picture of the next slide.
There's also Mission U books and sign up sheet over there if you want to take part in the online Mission U in July. 2 cents.